Welcome to part 2 in our 6-part series of How to Clean Your Salesforce Org. In case you missed part 1, go check that out right now, because in part 1 we covered understanding your business processes. In this unit, we're going to focus on your users and how to optimize them. If you haven't done so already, make sure to download the PDF handout that accompanies this section, as I believe you will find it very handy in order to follow up on some of the items covered in this video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Giller. I'm a Salesforce MVP, consultant, and trainer. When it comes to understanding your users, you might be thinking, I can easily log into Salesforce, see all of my users, and question solved. It's not that simple. There are a couple of very common problems that I see when working with lots of different organizations that are using Salesforce as it relates to users. Let's focus on them one at a time. Problem number 1, too many Salesforce admins. We are living in an age where everyone is considered a winner and every participant gets an award. Well, somehow this seems to translate in the world of Salesforce users where everyone who breathes becomes a Salesforce admin. That's a problem. When I'm working with an organization where I happen to notice that there are an absurd number of system admins set up, I ask why. And some of the answers that I get include, well, I'm the fill in the blank CEO, I'm the vice president of sales, I'm the head of marketing. That's why. Sometimes people tell me, well, I need to be a system admin so that I can pull reports and dashboards. Sometimes people tell me that they need to be a system admin so that they can log calls and meetings. Sometimes people tell me that they need to be set up as a system admin so that they should be able to see everything in the database. Really? When someone is set up as a system admin in Salesforce, that means that with just a few clicks, that person can permanently destroy your organization's database. And if they are not experienced, they will have no clue of the damage that they just caused. When you have people who are inexperienced and unqualified to be Salesforce system admins, inevitably, you will have cluttered screens. You will have fields that are confusing, let alone duplicated. You will have multiple custom tabs with confusing names. My point is, system admin permissions should only be given to the fewest number of people possible. Believe it or not, you can pull reports, view all data, log calls, log meetings, edit records, pull lists without having system admin permissions. Now let's talk about problem number 2, shared licenses. We're talking about a shared username and password among various members of the team, allowing multiple individuals to log in with the same username and password. I'm not even going to get into the legalities associated with having shared licenses. Here are some of the problems that you will experience if you are sharing licenses among various members of your team. You're not going to be able to use Chatter. Chatter lets you @mention people, to tag them, ask someone a question, remind a colleague to take action. The next problem with shared licenses is that you are unable to see who was the last person that modified or created anything in Salesforce. You see, out of the box, on practically every record in Salesforce, you will have 2 system-generated fields, created by and last modified by. If you're sharing licenses with other people, your guess is as good as mine in order to try and figure out who among the various people sharing that login is the actual person who created that particular record or last modified it. Next problem with sharing usernames in Salesforce. You are unable to assign tasks. How are you able to assign tasks to a shared user when anyone else logging into that account can see all of the same tasks as if they're all assigned to them? So they are essentially assigned to no one. The next problem with shared licenses is that your metrics become practically useless. All opportunities, accounts, contacts that are assigned to that share user become pretty much meaningless because nobody really knows who is truly working on those records. The last issue associated with sharing licenses is that you're unable to access filters in Salesforce. I mean, whether you know it or not, there are actually many different areas in Salesforce where there are out-of-the-box, easy to use, and pretty powerful filters where you can filter on, let's say, my accounts or my contacts, my opportunities, my activities. Well, if I am, let's say, logging in with a shared username as a couple of other people on the team, when I go and I use my accounts or my contacts, I'm not really going to see mine. I'm going to see the records that belong to everyone who is using that shared login. Problem number 3, improper utilization or no utilization of roles and profiles. I prefer to simplify these concepts in the following way. Roles define who reports to who and where they sit on the org chart. Profiles, on the other hand, generally speaking, defines what functionality and features should be available to specific team members. By properly using these critical features, you can easily assign specific users to an appropriate role and profile, allowing them to see the records that are relevant to them and access the features and functionality that are appropriate for them. There are a couple of key features in Salesforce that controls who sees what, and I'll just call them out. The first one is org-wide sharing defaults. The org-wide sharing defaults allows you as a system admin to set up for each object what the default permissions should be. Then we have the role hierarchy, which I talked about a moment ago. Next, we have sharing rules. Sharing rules are essentially a way to automatically set up sharing based on specific attributes on specific records. And then we have manual sharing. Think of manual sharing as sort of hand-picking which records you want to share with very specific individuals. So what can you do to take control of the user configuration for your current Salesforce users? The first thing that I would recommend that you do is use the Salesforce Optimizer to quickly assess your organization's sharing rules, administrator permissions, profiles, permission sets, and also to see users that have not logged in recently. Now you might be wondering, what is Salesforce Optimizer? Well, Salesforce Optimizer is an incredibly powerful tool that Salesforce provides, and it will do some automated instant analysis of your existing Salesforce configuration, give you recommendations, suggestions on how you can improve the configuration within your org. Now you might be wondering, well, how do I run the Salesforce Optimizer in my own org? Let me tell you. The first thing that you're going to do is navigate over to Setup. Then you're going to go over to the Quick Find search on the left-hand side and type in Optimizer. Now go ahead and click on the word Optimizer. Now on the right-hand side of the screen, simply click on the big button that says Run Optimizer. Within a couple of minutes, you should get an email in your inbox that has a PDF. That PDF is your Optimizer report. The next thing that you're going to do in order to take some corrective action associated with the user configuration for the users that you have in Salesforce is configure your roles appropriately. How do you do that? First, you need to identify or create an org chart for your company showing who reports to who. Little hint, ask HR, they might already have it. Next, you're going to go ahead in Salesforce and you're going to create roles that represent the org hierarchy that you've created. The roles should be named in a way that resembles a job title. Do not give roles the name of individuals. You should not be naming your roles the name of the employees on your team. George Jetson, Fred Flintstone. No. the name of each role should represent the equivalent of a job title, the function that a person has within the organization. Once you've created the roles, now you have to go ahead and assign people into the appropriate role that matches their job title. And with that, we wrap up Unit 2 of our 6-part series of How to Clean Your Salesforce Org. Thanks so much for joining. Make sure to download that handout, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.